Want to help the channel? Go to shopclownfish.com where you can check out official Clownfish TV merchandise in our brand new shop. It helps us out. Also, check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/clownfishtv for more art and gaming live streams that we don't do on YouTube. We want to see you over there as well. Now let's get into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And Leslye Headland.
Oh, yes.
Is still here.
We got to make sure you know that. Yep.
Something's going on because there's been a lot of PR talk about Leslye Headland the last couple of days. And this is after rumors came out about Star Wars possibly getting a soft reboot of some kind.
Right. This is Kathleen Kennedy, allegedly is behind this whole Leslye Headland thing. And now all of a sudden, Leslye Headland's being announced and making sure, so you don't forget. And now their angle they're using is diversity. That she's being hired because there's not enough diversity. So if you get rid of her, you're getting rid of diversity. Yeah,
this is this happens often where, you know, instead of just hiring people that are diverse and being like, let's just do this thing, it's like we're hiring someone who's diverse. We're going to make a big deal about it and use them for PR and also use them as a shield. So if they're not really that good, you can't say anything.
Well, it's funny because they keep doing this. Every time there's a movie and they have these characters that suck in it, their answer is, well, it's because of diversity. You just you're racist. You don't like strong women, blah, 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 blah. And every movie they claim that they fixed the problem and they're adding diversity. But then when they want somebody else for something else, then there's an issue again that has to be refixed because they didn't fix it the last 5 times they made a big announcements about fixing diversity.
Yeah. So meanwhile, they're not making a big deal about
Deborah Chow.
Deborah Chow, yeah.
The one article I sent you, they did mention her once, and you know, Bryce Dallas Howard directed an episode of The Mandalorian too.
Yeah.
So they're not mentioning that. No. By diversity, they mean women, and they usually mean lesbian women. I'm being honest.
I think
Asian. You have to have another check mark with it.
Yeah, but Deborah Chow. And she's right.
No, they're mentioning her now because she's Asian. So that you have to. Being a woman is enough. You have to have another checkbox with that.
I think what's going on here is look. Okay, so let's backpedal a little bit. We'll talk about Leslye Headland. We're going to talk about some of the mistakes made with Disney Star Wars and the sequels. In the case of Leslye Headland, there was a lot of potential controversy around her hiring because of who she's associated with.
Yes.
There was, I guess, Disney executives reportedly, okay, this is a rumor, they hit the roof, the Bobs hit the roof when they found out that Kathleen Kennedy hired her because she was Harvey Weinstein's right-hand woman.
For a while.
Not a very long time, but I mean, clearly in that position, she probably would have had some inkling as to what was going on. So there was a lot of controversy about that. So there's been a push from people to be like, what the hell is going on? She was apparently hired without the Bob's blessing, and now they're stepping into it with Harvey Weinstein. And this, to me, feels like a PR push to get her front and center so you can't fire her. Right.
And then they keep going about her being a Star Wars fan. There's a lot of women out there and diverse people that are Star Wars fans that don't think that everything needs changed because of diversity. Also, when they asked her what her favorite movie was, all of them.
All of them.
That's what she said, apparently.
But that's not an answer.
Exactly. But she's a huge fan. That's their point.
All of them. Let me go watch them first and I'll get back. No, I don't know. But there's definitely some weirdness going on here, and it's led to the rumors of Star Wars possibly getting a soft or hard reboot, that they're going to potentially step over the sequel trilogy. And this has been discussed by several YouTubers. I think Doomcock was the one.
I think so first, yeah. We actually were the ones who talked first about Headland and how, there was something going on. And then Doomcock came in about that, and he has some people, and they're telling him a different theory. And then you said there's somebody else has another theory.
Yeah, Midnight's Edge, I guess, did a video too talking about how they think that instead of just doing a hard reboot of the sequel trilogy using the veil of the Force they introduced in the Star Wars cartoons, that they actually would just kind of ignore the sequel era and just kind of work around it, which is kind of what we're seeing now. Like all the announced projects seem to work around
and
it.
Allegedly, KK is getting her nose pinched because if they would ignore it or step over it or redo it, that would be her legacy would be ruined.
Yeah.
So apparently she's getting her nose pinched, and from my understanding, she's kind of been, taken out of play on a lot of things, which would explain why all of a sudden we're doubling down on Leslye Headland and all the PR outlets. I mean, the rumor is that they announced that before the Bobs even knew about it.
Yeah.
To make sure it got out there so they couldn't stop it.
I mean, it does feel like, even from the outside, even as an armchair observer,
Even as someone who works in PR.
Yeah, it feels like there is absolutely some kind of a civil war going on at Lucasfilm. They're not working in a very unified fashion. Like, even look at Marvel.
Has there been a unified anything since they started these sequel trilogies? No. There hasn't been any unification at all. It's all over the effing place.
Yeah, and it does feel like there's definitely some behind the scenes drama. The Rise of Skywalker felt like a course correction that was too little too late, trying to undo some of the more unpopular things from The Last Jedi, but you can't do that in one movie. You have to see it through. And at that point, going back and trying to undo The Last Jedi probably wasn't the smartest move, because then you just made a movie that nobody liked.
Yeah, then they tried to unlearn all they had learned, and
they unlearned all they had learned, and literally, like, every point that a lot of fans had about points of contention for The Last Jedi, they went through and they it's like they had a checklist. Like, they complained about Rose Tico, let's not put her in it much. Complained about Luke Skywalker being a dope and toss the lightsaber over the shoulder. Okay, let's have him catch the lightsaber. Let's have him bring the X-Wing out of the water. Let's have him be a hero now that he's dead.
Funny, we're just going on rumors though, because we have never watched Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
and I know if I want to rectify it though.
Rectify it.
No, I don't know. My rectal could take it.
That's what,
take the vacation.
That's what they're gonna call this. This is the new plan to save Star Wars. They're gonna rectify the fandom.
Rectify the fandom. They've been doing that since the Force Awakens. Anyway.
But some things they get right. The Mandalorian, for the most part, I think they got right, but I think they're going to ruin it with Baby Yoda.
I think they are. I think they're already like, oh, look, we have a cash cow. Milk that baby till it's dry. And it's going to be like, that's what they're going to do. I guarantee it.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on
here.
They
fought over that, too, apparently, because KK's mad because she says it's her idea and all that other stuff,
And there's Bob Iger on the cover of Time magazine holding Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? So there's clearly some stuff going on. And then we have J.W. Rinsler, who used to work for Lucasfilm. He did the making of books. He did a live stream, and he's been talking to podcasters, and he's like, I can't say too much because of my non-compete, but he's like, yeah, there's drama behind the scenes. Yeah, it's a mess. You have to read between the lines, but he was at Lucasfilm for years, and he's like, yeah, it's just a mess over there right now. Ever since Disney came in, it's been a huge mess. And we've seen it. We've seen the backpedaling. We've seen...
Disney is not good at being caretakers of other people's IP. So, no. I mean, they keep dropping the ball with so many different things. And even on their own stuff, as of late, they only want to do is reboot and sequelify everything. Yes.
Yeah, they've turned into kind of like DreamWorks with the Disney studios. I mean, we got Frozen 2, Wreck-It Ralph 2.
And everybody's like, they were supposed to be better. I mean, we had this with the Eisner era, too, where it was direct-to-video sequels all the time. Yeah. But, it's just like, at least it was something different. Now they're just trying to reboot everything that's already been popular. They're not even, or remake it as a live action. It's like they're not even trying anymore. And they're supposed to be the top notch.
Well, I think some of that was because of John Lasseter. John Lasseter, the first thing he did when he came in was like, yeah, those cheapquels, they're no longer canon. We're not doing this, whatever. And then we watched Bob Iger kind of turn Disney into a sequel factory, turn Pixar into a sequel factory. Pixar was always like top shelf animation, and it was like, yeah, just do another Monsters Inc., do another Cars.
Yeah, it's like it became what they're doing to Baby Yoda. It's an ATM machine. Where does the cash come out?
So the AT-ATs, we have the ATM machines.
You swipe it down the crack and it comes out the mouth.
Yeah.
Your face.
I'm not even going to
There's an image.
But I agree with this. This is kind of what we talked about in the last video, where we said, I don't see how they can undo, not right away, how they can undo the sequel trilogy, but they could work around it and just be like, we're not even going to go there. All of our Star Wars stuff is either going to take place 100 years or 1,000 years after, or 400 years before, like the High Republic, or we're going to set it a couple years after Return of the Jedi, like the Mandalorian, but we're not going to go anywhere near the sequel era anytime soon.
But what's also funny about the sequel era is that they didn't explain it in the films very much. And now they have to have all kinds of effing books trying to explain it because, like, no one ever got that the First Order was much of a threat. I mean, let's be honest here. Kylo Ren just acted like, you know, he was a teenager throwing temper tantrums most of the way through The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
You didn't really get what was going on. You know, Snoke was supposed to be this big threat, and then they just off him like nothing. You think that Kylo Ren's gonna be the big bad, but it's not. It's just the Emperor all over again. It's just, you did not establish a fact that they were a big threat, because he shows up and he's a bigger threat than the First Order was. So now they have to go back in books and retcon, explain why it's important. You have to, if you want to get it, you have to read all the extras.
Well, that's what this article on Screen Rant is justifying the First Order, because I don't even get it. I mean, when you've got Elijah Wood out there, like, this doesn't make any sense.
It didn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Where was this Sith fleet again? Where was Palpatine this whole time?
Right, but they swear up and down that it was planned the whole time, because there was concept art found in November of 2017, right around the time The Last Jedi came out, when everybody was already starting to get like about it. Yeah. Then they suddenly, but that proves they planned the Emperor from the beginning with art that showed up that could have been dated any time, that showed up 2 years after the Force Awakens.
It could have even been artwork for a vision of the Emperor.
Right, right. Doesn't matter. That's their proof. Here's a piece of artwork from right before The Last Jedi came out, 2017. But that proves it was planned the entire time.
No, because Colin Trevorrow had a whole different movie laid out. And as much as I didn't like The Last Jedi, I'm like, you could have redeemed that movie better if you just stuck to your guns, probably, and just continued that story to its logical conclusion, whatever that is, if anybody still care. But trying to backpedal everything just made it even worse. Yeah. Because it was like, why does this movie even exist now?
Well, but your question you asked for all of them. Why do they exist? Because
money.
The Force Awakens was basically A New Hope all over again. And then The Last Jedi came in, and because people said that the first one was too copying of A New Hope, they decided, then apparently that's why they claim they went completely in the other direction and went too far the other way. And that just undid everything from The Force Awakens. And then The Rise of Skywalker has to undo everything from The Last Jedi to fix the Force Awakens. And it's just a big cluster. You need like a flippin' flow chart to follow what the hell's going on. And now they had to have books to explain it, because they should have explained it in the first place. Had they had an effing plan, maybe they would have explained it in the first place. But they were all over the damn place and there was no plan.
Yeah, so that's what this article is basically like. Let's try to cobble together all this expanded, well, is it still the expanded universe?
It's not the expanded universe. It's supposed to be stuff that was explained to people to begin with.
Well, that's it. Look, most people with Star Wars, and we saw this firsthand with Solo. We went to go see Solo in the theater, one of like 5 people.
Yeah, Ryan Bay was there. And that was like within a day or two of opening.
Yeah, there was like 8 people in the theater. 4 of them were us. And we went to go see Solo, and people were completely confused that Darth Maul was still alive, because the vast majority of people who watch Star Wars movies don't watch the cartoon shows. They sure as hell don't read the books. They're not playing all the video games. That stuff should all be kind of apocryphal. The comic books and all that tie-in stuff has always been kind of like...
Well, if you bring it in, you need to explain it.
Right. You can't just be like, oh yeah, here's where they came from, and here's where the Sith fleet was, and here's all stuff going on behind the scenes that would have been a great plot point to bring up in the movie, so they actually made some sense. But in reality, they're just making shit up as they go, and then they're retconning, the First Order and all that, because they don't even know. I think J.J. Abrams dropped that first movie, and he didn't even know where the hell the First Order came from or why it exists. I think they only did it because Disney was like, we need stormtroopers and TIE fighters and X-Wings. Pew, pew, pew.
Like, what people like about the original, let's make sure we hit all those. And that one thing that we've mentioned before about George Lucas, like him or hate him, it doesn't matter when he did new things. Maybe the story wasn't the greatest thing, but you could always expect visually exciting new vehicles, new characters, new weapons, new planets, just new things, because at the end of the day, they're going to make toys out of them, and you had to make them exciting. And then with The Force Awakens and the sequel trilogy, it was just the same damn shit rehashed over again.
Yeah, say what you will about the prequels, but there always was interesting monsters. Even Attack of the Clones, which personally I think is the worst of the prequels. You had the battle droids, which looked cool. You had Geonosis. You had all kinds of crazy ships and clone troopers. And even if the movie you know, like the movie, they still looked cool and kids bought them.
It's funny because when we did our comic, basically what it was Kneon would be like, you know what I want to draw? He'd think of something cool that I want to draw this because I haven't seen anybody do that before. And then it was my job to make the story work, to incorporate that into the story. And you're shaking your head because it's true. Because you want to see cool things. You don't want more of the same.
Yeah, because if not, you've just got movies where people are just sitting around talking heads or whatever. And that's what makes, you know, science fiction movies like Star Wars or fantasy films or comics or whatever more visually exciting, is that, yeah, I mean, even if it logically couldn't exist, it does, and it looks cool. Look at Empire Strikes Back. You know, AT-ATs were not the most efficient way to attack a rebel base.
They were effing awesome.
They were awesome. They were iconic.
They're still iconic.
Yeah, but in reality, if you're going to be all grounded, just sending a bunch of TIE fighters down to blow the base up would have probably been a hell of a lot more efficient.
But it wasn't as visually exciting.
No, you need giant space robot camels.
Plus, you need them so you can sell toys to them at a whole bunch of money.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, it was about moving merch, but it was also about doing things that are new. It was like, you know, they used to push the envelope. All Disney wanted to do is copy the envelope. Like, hit copy on the machine and refold it the exact same way.
Yeah, I really think the First Order exists solely to sell toys. I really think Disney sat, because look, there's a huge shift from the prequels to the original trilogy in the designs and everything, but with the sequels, it was basically the Empire just with a red stripe on it. Mm-hmm. Everything was effectively the same.
And they didn't explain anything about it. So now we have to have books that go back and explain it, because they didn't explain it in the first place.
So it might all be moot now to bring up what they were saying. Midnight's Edge was saying that they think it's moot because they might not even go anywhere near the sequel era for a long time. And I actually hope that is the case.
I hope so too.
Because there are a lot of stories that can be told in and around, you know, the Star Wars that the vast majority of fandom agrees on is good. You know, like The Mandalorian, just a few years after Return of the Jedi. Although I think they're going to set it up to lead into, here's where the First Order came from, guys.
Probably. They'll probably try to explain it with the show.
Now you have to like the First Order.
Even their spin-off shows are all going to be tied probably to The Mandalorian, and then they're talking about how it's going to be like they're all their own movie, but they're all connected on a story somehow. And if you don't watch all of them, you don't get it all, like they do with the MCU.
Like Daredevil on Netflix with the Defenders.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, if they bring Daryl back they make it to the MCU, they better use Charlie Cox.
I've heard that
he's perfect.
I just saw a story the other day where they think that that's not going to happen.
I know, it probably won't, but it's bullcrap because he's the best. Anyway, we need to wrap this up. But I'm expecting you hearing more and more about Leslye Headland, because Kathleen Kennedy is desperately trying to hold on to her power. This is her push right here for power. And of course, they're going to lead with, we have to bring diversity into Star Wars, because no one ever brought diversity into Star Wars before, except for people who did. And there's not enough diversity in it, so we need check boxes right and left. And apparently she hits more than one, so she counts.
Yeah, it's a shield, because I think she's on the list, the watch list. And this is KK. Again, look at the difference between Kathleen Kennedy and the handling of her people.
Mm-hmm. And handling of her things she was in charge of. Right,
like Rian Johnson, like Leslye Headland. Neither one of them have disappeared. Okay, and then look at Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who are just quietly hiring diverse people, you know, behind the camera and putting out a pretty solid show and not making a big deal about it. Because that should be the goal, right? If the goal is about equality, the goal should be like, we put the right people you know, in the job, and they do their job, and oh, by the way, they just happen to be, because it's normal.
Because they want to do the best job they can.
Yeah, it's normal for everybody to have an equal opportunity.
Right.
You know, not have to go out and make a big deal to the press, you know, because to me, again, that just feels like this is a shield.
It's about pandering. It's not about doing good work.
Yep.
So, anyway.
All right, so we're going to wrap this one up.
Yep.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we will talk later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.